at its center. The crystal of truth, the source of all life. The Skecces have corrupted it. And now our world is at risk from the darkening.
What is the darkening?
Behold.
I saw something. A vision.
You read too many stories.
No, this was real!
Everything the Skeksis ever told us was a lie. And now everyone and everything is at risk. Join me, so we may finally unite as one against our true foe, the Skeksis.
We are eternal!
The resistance is forming.
Aloha! This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, and I just want to wish you a happy Labor Day weekend. Look, as many of you guys know, this has been very slim pickings for movies this weekend, this Labor Day weekend. Nobody really has come out to play. No big studio productions of anything have really hit. It's all just the repeats. There were a few like little tiny movies that came out, but nothing that I felt was worth going to the movie theater to see. But fortunately, this was the perfect time then to go ahead and watch what Netflix dropped on Friday for the 3-day weekend, The Dark Crystal, The Age of Resistance. And for those of you who don't know, this is an actual prequel to the movie The Dark Crystal by Jim Henson and his Henson Productions, those who do the Muppets on Sesame Street, who did the Muppet Show, who did all the Muppet movies, did Labyrinth. Back in 1982, Jim Henson got this idea to go ahead and do a kind of a dark fantasy movie with his Muppets, with his puppets. That was astonishing and still holds up today, over 37 years ago. That still rivals the best and even exceeds that of some of the CGI today. So this is a 10-episode show on Netflix. I think it's only going to have this one season, and then that's it, because it is a prequel to the movie, and then the movie wraps up, pretty much everything, the movie from 1982. It just fits right into place. So remember our rating scale. Shaka thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shaka thumbs down. It's bad to see. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And for The Dark Crystal, The Age of Resistance, it is a strong Shaka thumbs up. Like I said, this came out in 1982. I was still a child. I went ahead and I saw this movie at the theater. I remember going seeing it, I think at least twice. I own now the 25th anniversary edition of the DVD, which comes with all this trilogy, that and Labyrinth's DVD. This is done by the Jim Henson Productions, led by Jim Henson's wife, since he had passed away from pneumonia, over a decade ago, unfortunately. Lisa Henson. And many of the original artists, costumers from the movie came back for this. And it stars a host of actors voicing these characters. Everything from Simon Pegg to Natalie Dormer to Donna Kimball, Mark Hamill, Jason Isaacs, Alicia Vikander, and the cast goes on and on. Even Sigourney Weaver does some narration in this movie, because that's what it is. It is essentially a 10-hour epic movie. It's definitely not an episodic kind of thing. You got to watch it from start to finish, all the episodes, and then you can just flow right into the movie. This happens, many generations before the movie even takes place. And I will admit, I was skeptical at first, before I started watching, about, I didn't want a prequel. I'm tired of prequels. I want what's happening now, what's going on, what happened after the movie. I mean, those of you who saw the movie know that things turn out, although from the tragic history that we see in these 10 episodes show, this 10 episode movie, this 10-hour movie, knows that it's a pretty dramatic and tragic event that befall these humanoids called Gelflings. Basically, an entire race of people destroyed by those of the evil Skecces, all in the hopes of prolonging their own life. Because, as you saw, if you remember seeing the 1982 movie, they drain these entities' essence, their life force, very much like vampires, so that these Skeksis can continue to live forever. And the Gelflings, being the closest or the most advanced humanoids on this planet of Thrall, unfortunately are the closest and the best to obtain this life force from. Other creatures do not seem to give the same potency for life force to the Skekces. And so out through this entire 10-hour movie, prequel, in the Dark Crystal, the Age of Resistance, we see the Gelflings, 7 tribes of Gelflings, where we had only known of 2 in the movie. There were 7 originally. And it feels very much akin to a Chronicles of Shannara, or, as I feel more, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Very much so. Whereas basically, the Skekces are worshipped as gods by the Gelflings, for generations. They find out, a handful of Gelflings find out what is actually happening to their people, what the Skekces are doing, that they're killing all of them, a genocide of sorts, definitely darker than one would expect, for this is not a little tiny kids show. It does have darkness, it does have some humor for kids, but it's much, much more geared towards and more adult, mature audience. Definitely more of a PG crowd. So you will definitely want to check this out. If you want your child to watch it with them, as they may have questions or concerns of, Mom, Dad, what's happening to these people? Why are the Skekces evil? What are they doing to these poor Gelflings? But like in The Lord of the Rings, they find out. And the Skekces are kind of like Saruman's, forces, the evil orcs, the Orokai, and all the Gelflings must band together, like the tribes of men in The Lord of the Rings, to rise up against, not Saruman in this case, but the Emperor of the Skekces, and all of the Skekces themselves, to try to prevent this genocide of occurring, this extinction of their race, of their culture, of everything that they hold dear, for nothing other than just prolonging their own, Skeksis' life selfishly, and not giving anything to the land in return. So yes, there are a lot of themes in this, a lot of powerful themes that children might not understand. It's a very political, very much like, some people, some reviewers, I see some news articles referring to this as kind of a Game of Thrones level, and it is. We're talking about the extinction of an entire race of people for those who are in power, ruling over them, very much kind of like a Game of Thrones. So that is an adequate description, but to me, I feel it was more of a Lord of the Rings, which kind of loosely Game of Thrones is kind of, tied into, but, since it had all of the seasons to work through, it was much, much more in depth into the political intrigue. And during these 10 episodes, we do have a little bit of that. And we get to see, the darkness rise up in the Skecces, and what happens and how the Gelflings must try to come together, set aside their differences, very much like, how people today should do, to combat things happening in the world, things happening to the world, not only themselves, to benefit themselves greater so that they are not, destroyed, unfortunately, or the world is not destroyed. There are many comparisons that you can draw this akin to very much, and I'll say it, the TMT, debate that's going on currently is something that could be related to in this show as well. So this is definitely a must-see if you love fantasy, medieval action, plots, intrigues, and great special effects. There is some CGI in this, whereas, back in 1982, they did not have CGI capable of doing some of these, but there is no straight shots of CGI. It is only used to enhance these puppets that look very human, that emit emotions, maybe some extra facial movements here and there, especially when they're running for like long shots or long takes and doing maybe acrobatics, whereas a puppet could not do such a maneuver. That is the only time that they rely on the CGI. And again, it is only to enhance the puppetry that takes place. There is a wonderful 1 hour making of featurette at the end of the 10 episodes that, after you watch it, and possibly the movie as well, The Dark Crystal from 1982, all on Netflix, you might want to go ahead and check that out as well, especially with your kids, so that they can see how these inanimate dolls are brought to life. So again, if you had any type of fascination with maybe like movies like Kubo and the Two Strings that use puppets and stop motion, this one is live action puppetry taking place very much, many of these actors, these puppeteers from like things like Sesame Street, from other productions like that, with the Henson Company. These are the creme de la creme of the puppetry world, and their art is a dying art, but this gives them new life and definitely shines. So please, I urge you to go ahead and watch it. Louise Latier directs all 10 episodes, so there is a strong bond of consistency throughout all of the narrative of these 10 episodes, and drawn directly from the 1982 movie. It fits very well into place. All right, so again, a strong Shaka thumbs up for Netflix's The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. Do yourself a favor, do your children a favor, and go ahead and watch that, and then the movie from 1982, and see how it compares, and see how much richer the world of Thrall, the Gelflings, the Skecces, even the Mystics are. All right, thank you so much. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, saying go see Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance on Netflix. Shaka thumbs up all the way. All right, thank you so much, and aloha.